Hello, welcome back to the Hot Girl Guide with Rebecca. Girlies, it has been a long time coming, but welcome back to the Hot Girl Guide podcast. I am so beyond excited to even be uttering these words right now. You have no idea. I am so excited for this new journey that we're about to go on together, this adventure of picking up this camera again, getting cozy, and just yapping with you all. It has been, in the words of Miss Taylor Swift, a long time coming. And I'm just so happy to be here. I'm so happy you're here with me today. And it's about time that we all step in to our hot girl mindset. It is about time that we all re-enter our hot girl mindset. If you feel like you have lost that spark in yourself and you've lost that inner knowing or inner confidence, or you just feel like you want to start again, maybe you mastered the whole mindset of confidence and of being self-assured and of not really minding what other people think, and for going for what you want or being who you want to be or figuring out who you want to be. If you had that before and you feel like you've lost it, or if you've never had it and you feel like now is your time to just go for it, then you are in the right place, because that is what we are doing with this whole new, I was going to use the word season right now, but it's an era. We have had an era shift, me personally, and this podcast and the collective and everyone. And we're shifting into this new era of the Hot Girl Guide, and I'm so excited that you are here with me to go through this. And welcome back. We're going to be here every Monday with mindset talks, confidence talks, how to not disrespect yourself, how to not let other people disrespect you, how to channel your most higher self, how to go for what you want. I am going to be talking about it all, because that is what I have realized. This throat chakra right here, this is where it opens. This is where I don't plan. I feel like I just channel this motivational speaker energy sometimes, and I have no idea where it comes from. And if you listen to me online, or if you've ever joined any of my TikTok lives, or if you listen to the other podcasts that I'm involved in, pay attention, you will just know that sometimes this motivational speaker in me just comes out. And no matter when it comes out, it is always attached to the idea of confidence and self-assurance and knowing who you are and just completely going for it in this lifetime and trusting yourself, whatever that looks like. And the main message of this first episode of the Hot Girl Guide is, it is okay to start again. It is okay to start over. It is okay to come back to something that you once started, that you didn't fail at, but that it wasn't the right time for the energy you were putting into it. Maybe you weren't ready. Maybe another person in your life wasn't ready. Maybe this situation just didn't line up. Whatever it was, it is okay to choose yourself and choose to start again. And that is exactly what I'm doing today, because obviously, if you've never listened to this podcast, you won't know the lore and the backstory, but I started this podcast in 2020. So technically, this podcast has been going for 5 years. Consistency is something that I have really struggled with throughout my life, I would say. I would say that I always rebelled against the idea of consistency and routine and having to do something. But What I've come to realize over the past few years, my birthday was yesterday. I turned 31. I'm in my 30s now. Like, I feel like you're 30 years, like, ooh, I turned 30, like 30 and flirty and thriving and all of that stuff. And then when you turn 31, in my whole 24 hours of being 31, it's like, okay, I'm in my 30s now. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the first year in your 30s is just like the end of your 20s vibes. What I have learned and what is really coming out to me as I enter this second year of being in my 30s is that the highest form of self-respect for your future self is self-discipline. And self-discipline comes in the form of doing things that you want to do and that you know your higher self wants you to do and that you know your future self wants you to do consistently. So that is the way I'm showing up in this whole new era of the Hot Girl Guide, because I have said this before. I have uttered these words that, you know, we took a bit of a break and we took bit of a break in episodes, and now we're back with a new season, and there's going to be a new episode every Monday or Wednesday or whatever day I said, or maybe I said, ooh, episodes are just going to come. But when you look back at yourself in different eras of your life, like, I wasn't in an era of posting consistently and showing up consistently somewhere, but I'm doing this whole thing, this new era of the Hot Girl Guide, my way, but also, I guess you could say, the right way. This is not the only episode of this podcast I've recorded today. There are multiple, and I will be here every single Monday. And not only that, but in about a month's time, there is something else launching. With the Hot Girl Guide, we're in it now, okay? I'm launching on the Taurus new moon. I am a Taurus sun. This is all cosmically. I've been working on this behind the scenes, because the thing about me is I get urges, right? And there's nothing bad with getting urges, but I got an urge to bring this podcast back. I knew 2025. So early January, I was going to sit down and record an episode and just put it out, like I always do. Like, I'm like, okay, I want to start this again. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to post it. I'm just going to do it. And then I thought, no. And I thought, no. And I sat back and I planned. And I planned what the new era would look like, what the vibe of the new era would be. Of course, the vibe is always consistent across this podcast. Even if you listen to the first ever episode of this podcast that was recorded years ago, the vibes are always the same. I planned everything and I sat back and I waited until the timing was right. I trusted the timing on this. I did not act in ways that I've acted in the past with this, because in the past I would want to bring this podcast back. People would message me telling me they listen to the podcast and they love it, and you know, it would always spark out, ooh, I need to bring that back, and ooh, I need to record an episode right now and just put it out and just not edit it and not do anything and just not even think about it and put it out. And I realized that that was acting in an energy of not desperation. Of course, it's good to follow inspired energy, right? But instead of following the inspired energy and recording an episode, posting it straight away, and then ultimately not having a plan, and then life getting in the way, and, you know, maybe I'd post 2 episodes and then go ghost. That's not what we're doing anymore. Like, I'm literally, in my head, I have a podcast network that is on my back every single week for episodes. Like, we're doing this a whole new way. But I did not pick up this mic intentionally, because I was like, I don't want this to be like every single time I've done this before. You know, I don't want this to be another, ooh, I'm bringing the podcast back and do 4 episodes and then that be it. I don't want it to be that, because the vibe of the Hot Girl Guide and what I hope you get from the Hot Girl Guide is something that you listen to that makes you feel better in yourself, and something that you listen to that maybe you take a sentence away and you're like, oh, that really stuck with me, or something that you listen to when you're struggling to make a decision or make a right decision for yourself. Maybe you've been people pleasing too much. Maybe you've been putting other people ahead of yourself too much. Maybe you've been making decisions based on what other people might do or hypotheticals, and you haven't been thinking like, wait, what do I want? I want this podcast to be that outlet for you, that when you listen, you just come back into yourself and you could say, you know what? No. And I have a story that I'm going to tell right now. So I was in Penny's the other day, or Primark as they call it outside of Ireland, and I was there and I was picking out duvet covers. And I texted my mans and I sent him 2 duvet covers and I was like, which one do you think? Do you think the white or the sage green? And he was like, oh, I don't love either of them, but the sage green. So in my head, I was like, you know what? No, he doesn't love either of them. I'll put the duvet covers down. I'll find one that we both love. So I was going down the escalator in Primark and I had this moment of, hold on, I don't love any of his duvet covers. I don't love any of his boy duvet covers that he's chosen. Why did I put someone else's I don't love ahead of my love? Because I loved the duvet covers. They were soft. They were high thread count, very important. They were 100% cotton. They were this beautiful sage green and had this really nice trimming that gave hotel bed vibes. So I got to the end of the escalator and I went back up and I got the duvet covers. And that is the most simple analogy for putting yourself first. You know, it's not always this big, deep, meaningful thing, putting yourself first. In fact, most of the time, putting yourself first is these small little acts of, hold on, wait, what do I want? Hold on, wait, what do I love? Hold on, wait, how do I feel? And I feel like a lot of the times we get stuck in ruts of not asking ourselves this, of not asking ourselves, what do I want in this situation? Who do I want to be in my situation? What does my future self want to do in this situation? What aligns most with where I'm trying to go? Do I even know where I'm trying to go? Or am I trying to please all of these people to go where they want me to go? You know what I mean? Because a lot of the times in life we can bow to other people's expectations of us or ideas of who we are, and maybe we don't feel connected to that anymore, but also we're scared because we don't want to feel rejection from our peers and our friends and our parents and people who love us or people who don't love us, people, strangers. We don't want to be an outcast. We don't want to be on the outside. We want to fit in. We want to be comfortable. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. But that's not going to get you the sage green duvet covers that you love. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is, when you start again, starting again is never a bad thing. Because if you're starting something again, you are coming at it with the lessons you have learned every previous time you've tried to do the same thing. If you look at anyone who has had a dream and who has made that dream happen, I can guarantee you that that dream did not happen the first time they tried to do it, or the second time, or the third time. There are countless stories of CEOs now of major companies. I think even Canva was one of them. And they would pitch to people and they would pitch their ideas and people would say, no, that's a stupid idea. Like, that will never happen. And it's not that the idea is stupid. It's that the timing is wrong, or that, you know, maybe something isn't aligning, or maybe the person they're pitching it to is in fact stupid. And that's the thing about starting again. Starting again is never bad unless you don't take the lessons that you've learned from every time you've tried before. Let me say that again. Starting again is never bad unless you don't take with you the lessons that you have learned before, or unless you don't reflect on what you did before and learn the lessons. If you don't learn the lessons that are trying to be taught to you through failure, because we all know failure is only failure if you don't learn anything. If you learn something, if you tried to do something in life, be it move across the world, be it marry someone, be it start a business, be it whatever. If you try to do anything in life, the only reason you will fail at that is if you don't learn something. Like, there's no such thing in my mind as true failure. The only thing that is failure is giving up on yourself. That's the only thing that I deem as failure. I don't deem, if you start something and then you figure out it's not for you, and then you learn it's not for you and you try something else, the thing you started isn't a failure. It didn't fail. You just learned it wasn't for you. The only time that you're ever a true failure is if you totally give up on yourself, on your dreams, on figuring out what you want, on figuring out who you want to be. So yes, I am here. I am starting again. And when I thought of bringing back this podcast, I thought of starting on a new complete slate, new podcast name, new everything, new hosting site, and not posting where I had posted before and everything like that, new Instagram page. And then I was like, do you know what? No, I'm continuing what I started, because sometimes starting again isn't a fresh slate. Sometimes starting again is just picking up where you left off. And it doesn't matter if it's been a month or a year or 10 years since you've done the thing that you want to start again. Once you try, that is literally the best thing ever, because it will take you on a journey. And if you're being called, this is where I get spiritual. If you, not as if I haven't been spiritual throughout this whole episode, let's be real. If you're being called, if your soul is being called, and a calling isn't anxiety fueled, a calling isn't an intense, all of a sudden thing. A calling is a quiet knowing, and a calling is a quiet voice that is inside you, that is building and building and building and building and building and building until you cannot deny it anymore. And if there is something that is calling you currently, maybe it's something you started 2 years ago. Maybe it's something you wanted to do and never tried. Maybe it's something you've never started, but it would require you to start again. You know what I mean? So if you're feeling called to move to a new city, following that calling might require you to completely start over in your job, in your career, in your relationships, in your community, in your friendship. But if that calling is in you, it's not going away. And I wish I could shake people sometimes and physically make them realize that if you have a calling for something, if there is a voice inside you or a want or a need inside you to do something, no matter how many excuses you give it or how many reasons you can't do the thing you give the calling, it's not going anywhere. And what does it turn into? It turns into regret later on in life of not doing it. We only ever regret the things we don't do. And yes, that is the cheesiest one-liner, but there had to be a cheesy one-liner in the new season, in the new era. It is true. We regret the things we don't do, the things that call us. And it's never too late. And I've heard stories of people giving reasons it's too late. I'm in my 30s now, I wasted my 20s. I didn't do the thing I wanted to do. I didn't try the career. I didn't study the thing. I didn't travel to that place. Now I'm in my 30s and, am I just going to start all over again? And it's like, well, if you're not happy, yeah. If something's calling you, yeah. Yes, you are going to start over again because you are 30. You are a baby. In the grand scheme of things, I heard I was about to say like I heard something or read something the other day, but realistically we all know I saw a TikTok. And if you're 30 right now and you live till you're 50, realistically the life expectancy allegedly is going to be 150. So if you think about that, you're only a fifth of the way through this thing we call life, which basically means you're only 20 if the life expectancy was 100. Do you know what I mean? So don't tell yourself it's too late. And even if you're not 30, if you're 40, if you're 50, if you're 60, I don't care. I don't care. And of course, I don't have experience being older than I am right now. But what I do have experience in is not denying myself of my callings. I don't know how or why, but I've always been the type of person to follow my callings. And it has never led me wrong. And I wish I could give you that knowing more. And I'm telling you right now, even if you do a thing that's not meant for you, or even if you do a thing that ultimately won't be long term, if you are feeling called to do something, there is a lesson in it. There is an experience in it. There is a person in it. There is a lesson in it. There is a life altering something in a calling. A calling is not there for no reason. You are not being drawn to doing something or being a different version of yourself or moving to a different place or changing career or leaving a relationship or starting a relationship or starting a friendship or joining a new community or exploring your spirituality. You are not being drawn to any of that for no reason. There is something in there for you, and you don't know if the thing is necessarily positive or negative. You know, you might have a calling to move somewhere or to start a new job or to do something, and it might teach you a really hard lesson. But that lesson will ultimately put you on the path that you're meant to be on. And that is the scariest part. The scariest part is not knowing how it's going to work out, right? If you can trust that you are being called to something for a reason, that is the biggest power. And I cannot explain to you how much it will change your life. And a calling's quiet, remember this. So if you're sitting here right now and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm being called to. I don't know. How do I figure out? You know. Deep, if you think about it, if nothing was an object in this world, if people's opinions weren't an objection, if money wasn't an objection, if location wasn't an objection, if pressures weren't an objection, like what is something you are being called to do? And I'm not saying someone is calling you, like I'm not saying it's like a spiritual calling or whatever, but there is something. It could be as simple as learning the piano. It could be writing a book. It could be leaving a relationship. It could be moving across the world. It could be anything, big or small, but each one of us has something that we want to do completely for ourselves. And that's how you know it's a calling. It's not for anyone else, okay? It is not for the approval of others. It is not so that people see you in a different light. It is not to impress a friend or a parent or a loved one. It is none of that. It is completely selfish, and not in a negative sense of the word, because I feel like people hear selfish and they completely associate that with negativity and being narcissistic and everything like that. And that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying a calling is selfish because it's 100% for you and it's not for anyone else, and no one else is meant to understand it. So follow that calling and start again. And if you have been looking for a sign to start again or follow a calling, or you have been toying with the idea of something that you know would mean that you're starting again, then I don't know what other sign there is than this one, personally. And I feel like that's the perfect way to reintroduce this hot girl guide era. I'm so looking forward to reopening my throat chakra. It's crazy. I'm so ready to start talking about all things Hot Girl Guide. Stop people pleasing, setting boundaries, like whatever it is, we are going to get into it, okay? And of course, in the comments now on Spotify, because there is a comment section, you can comment what you want me to talk about, what you need a guide on, what you need me to talk about. I can talk about it, because obviously recording this again is reopening a part of my throat chakra that I haven't exercised in a while. And yesterday I was in Burley for my birthday, and I saw this beautiful necklace. If you are watching, you will see it on screen. The top crystal is citrine, the middle is mother of pearl, and the bottom is golden topaz. It is on a silver chain right now that is quite short, so I do want to put it on a different chain. And also I can't put it on myself because my nails, and it's quite finicky. It's vintage, so it's pre-loved, which in my opinion just makes it all the more special. But the second I put it on yesterday, because I saw it in a shop and I tried it on, and immediately I was like, yes. But the second I put it on, it was sitting right here, like right on my throat, and I felt an opening. And I felt it penetrating my throat chakra, like specifically. It was very intense. I had never had that feeling before, and I just felt it. And soon after I put it on, I started to get quite a scratchy, itchy, sore throat, which I currently have right now. And I knew that I would be recording this today because it's all planned. As I said before, we are exercising self-discipline to honor my future self. And I feel like this is just clearing the energy that I need to channel for this new era of the Hot Girl Guide. So yes, my throat is quite scratchy, but I do feel like a sense of relief and release, and I am so excited. By the way, the Hot Girl Guide to Confidence ebook that I wrote years ago, I think it was 2022 or 2023, I wrote a whole ebook on confidence, and I launched it on a website, and it had hundreds of orders, and it was an ebook and an audiobook, so you could read it or you could listen. It got so many 5-star reviews, everything, and I got an impulse to take down the website and do a rebrand. And instead of what I did with this podcast and this era, instead of doing a slow plan and not acting intensely and not acting immediately, I took it all down. And it has not gone back online since, until today. So in the show notes of this podcast, in the description on YouTube, and if you are following me on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, in any link in bio, there will now be a fresh new link to the Hot Girl Guide to Confidence 2.0. I am going to add in a little message from me, 2025, 31-year-old me, in the start, but the book is staying the same because the book is as powerful as it needs to be itself. And for the first month of my podcast being relaunched, it will cost $8.88. If you are interested in that, that is now relaunched, and this whole new era of the Hot Girl Guide is completely planned and here to stay, and I'm excited for what's to come over the coming weeks, and I hope you are too. If you are not following this podcast already, give it a follow, give it a review, leave a comment. Engagement is magic when it comes to the online space. So if there is anyone online that you really connect with, that you really enjoy their content, engage with them in some way. You know, silent viewers are amazing and silent supporters are amazing, but they don't help anything. You know what I mean? Being a silent supporter of this podcast won't get this podcast where it needs to go, if that makes sense. So just a little comment. If you have made it this far, leave the little star sparkle emoji. I will be doing a secret emoji at the end of every episode, so I know the girlies who stay till the very end. What are you starting again? What are you re-entering? I feel like April is the perfect time to start again, when everyone else is talking about different things. Just know every week you can come here and you can channel your inner hot girl and your hot girl energy. So thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you next week. Goodbye.